There is a silent humiliation most men experience at least once in their lives. You stand there, composed, respectful, available, and she chooses the guy who texts back late, who doesn't explain himself, who walks like he owns the ground beneath him. Not because he is kinder, not because he is smarter, not because he treats her better, but because something in him ignites tension instead of comfort. And tension, whether people admit it or not, is the birthplace of desire. For decades, men were told a comforting lie. Be nice, be available, be emotionally transparent, and love will reward you. Yet history, psychology, and human behavior whisper a different truth. Attraction does not respond to morality. It responds to polarity. It responds to mystery. It responds to power, not loud power, not aggression, but the quiet certainty of a man who does not need permission to exist. This is where most misunderstand the bad boy. They assume he is reckless, irresponsible, emotionally immature. And some are. But that is not what creates the pull. What creates the pull is autonomy. Emotional independence. A refusal to chase validation. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote that what is good is whatever increases the feeling of power. He was not talking about domination over others. He was talking about inner sovereignty, the ability to stand alone without psychological dependence. Women are not attracted to cruelty. They are attracted to men who are not controlled by fear. The modern man is often controlled by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of losing her. And when fear drives behavior, it produces predictability. He over-explains, he replies instantly, he gives compliments too freely, he adjusts himself to her rhythm, he becomes safe. And safety is comfortable, but it is not magnetic. The bad boy archetype disrupts comfort. He is not rushed. He is not easily impressed. He does not overinvest before she does. There is space around him, emotional space, psychological space, and that space creates curiosity. Curiosity creates imagination. Imagination creates desire. Robert Greene, in his analysis of seduction, explains that seduction is not about force. It is about creating an atmosphere. An atmosphere where the other person projects their fantasies onto you. The bad boy does not reveal himself too quickly. He does not dump his entire identity on the table within 10 minutes. He allows ambiguity, and ambiguity activates the mind. Here is the uncomfortable contradiction. The man trying hardest to be chosen is usually the one least chosen. And the man who seems least concerned with being chosen becomes the prize. But before you misunderstand this completely, this is not about becoming cold. It is not about disrespect. It is not about manipulation. It is about mastering your emotional center so completely that your presence alone shifts the dynamic. And this is where the conversation becomes dangerous. Because most men, when they attempt to become bad, simply become awkward versions of arrogance. They imitate attitude without building inner stability. They fake indifference while secretly craving approval. Women sense this immediately. Authentic dominance is calm. Artificial dominance is loud. So if you want her to run towards you instead of away from you, you must understand something deeper than tactics. You must understand the psychological architecture behind desire. And to understand that, we must first dismantle the biggest lie you've been told about attraction. The first mistake most men make is assuming that women are attracted to rebellion. They are not. They are attracted to emotional asymmetry. The bad boy is not powerful because he breaks rules. He is powerful because he does not orbit around her approval. That subtle difference changes everything. Think about this carefully. When a man meets a woman he finds attractive, his nervous system shifts immediately. His voice changes, his posture stiffens, he becomes hyper-aware. He begins performing. Every sentence is calculated, every reaction filtered. He is no longer present. He is auditioning. And auditions are inherently submissive. You are asking to be accepted. Now contrast that with the man who is internally grounded. He does not adjust his rhythm to hers. He keeps his pace, he keeps his tone. He listens, but he does not lean. He smiles, but he does not seek confirmation. He is interacting, not applying. Psychologically, this creates tension, and tension is misunderstood in modern dating culture. We have been trained to believe comfort builds attraction. Comfort builds attachment, yes. But attraction begins with uncertainty. Sigmund Freud described desire as something that emerges from lack, from absence, from something that is not fully possessed. The moment something is guaranteed, the erotic charge dissolves. This is why over-availability kills momentum. When you remove all mystery, you remove projection. And projection is where fantasy lives. The so-called bad boy intuitively understands projection. He does not overshare. He does not explain every move. He is selective. When she asks what he did this weekend, he might answer simply, something interesting, and let silence sit. That silence forces her imagination to work. She begins filling the gaps. And here's the uncomfortable reality. The mind is far more seductive than reality itself. The nice guy often sabotages himself by giving too much too soon. He compliments excessively. He offers reassurance prematurely. He tries to demonstrate value instead of allowing it to be discovered. But value that must be proven loses its weight. Robert Greene writes that seduction is about creating a vacuum that others feel compelled to fill. The bad boy creates that vacuum by not rushing to complete every conversational space. He is comfortable with pauses. He is comfortable with ambiguity. He is comfortable with not being understood immediately. Comfort with ambiguity signals internal power. Now let's address something controversial. Many men believe women choose bad boys because they enjoy being treated poorly. This is an oversimplification, and a dangerous one. Women are not attracted to disrespect. They are attracted to emotional strength. The problem is that emotional strength and emotional coldness can look similar from a distance. The difference lies in intention. The immature bad boy withdraws to manipulate. The master bad boy withdraws because he genuinely has options, purpose, and inner direction beyond the interaction. His detachment is not a tactic. It is a byproduct of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is magnetic because it signals abundance, and abundance triggers instinctive attraction. Evolutionary psychology suggests that humans are wired to detect resource stability, not only financial resources, but emotional stability. A man who appears desperate for connection signals scarcity. Scarcity signals risk. Risk lowers perceived value. But here is the contradiction that sparks debate. The bad boy often behaves in ways that appear risky, unpredictable, nonchalant, occasionally dismissive. Yet that very unpredictability signals emotional resilience. He is not afraid of losing her. And the absence of fear communicates power more clearly than any rehearsed line ever could. This is why the man who double-texts anxiously loses ground, while the man who disappears into his own world becomes intriguing. Mystery is not about secrets. It is about restraint. Consider historical archetypes, from outlaw figures to rebellious artists. They were not loved because they were cruel. They were admired because they stood against external validation systems. They defined themselves internally. That independence radiates. Friedrich Nietzsche argued that what attracts admiration is not virtue, but vitality, the expression of life force. The bad boy archetype carries vitality because he acts from impulse rather than approval. That impulsive energy feels alive. But here's where most men collapse. They attempt to mimic surface behaviors without cultivating inner stability. They delay replies artificially. They act distant intentionally. They adopt sarcasm without confidence. And because their behavior is rooted in insecurity rather than self-possession, it leaks through micro-expressions, tone, and timing. Women are highly attuned to emotional incongruence. If your indifference is forced, it will feel hollow. If your detachment masks fear, it will register subconsciously. Authentic tension is calm. Artificial tension is stiff. There is also a social component. The bad boy tends to lead interactions rather than follow. He suggests locations instead of asking endless preferences. He initiates physical escalation gradually without overthinking every touch. Leadership reduces ambiguity. And paradoxically, women feel safer around men who are comfortable making decisions. Safety does not come from agreeableness. It comes from certainty. The nice guy believes being agreeable will increase attraction. In reality, over-agreeableness removes polarity. When two energies mirror each other perfectly, friction disappears. And without friction, there is no spark. Polarization is essential. The bad boy teases, he challenges, he disagrees playfully, not to insult but to differentiate. Differentiation creates emotional spikes. Emotional spikes create memory, and memory fuels desire. Ask yourself honestly, when have you felt most attracted to someone? Was it during neutral conversation, or during moments of tension, laughter, subtle conflict, unpredictability? Desire thrives in dynamic environments. But let's deepen this further. At its core, attraction is about narrative. Humans fall in love not just with people, but with stories. The bad boy unconsciously positions himself as an unfolding story rather than a completed chapter. There is always another layer, another edge, another unknown. The nice guy often presents himself fully within the first hour. He becomes readable, predictable, accessible. And accessibility, while comforting, does not ignite pursuit. Here is the brutal insight. People chase what might escape. When you subtly communicate that your time, attention, and emotional investment are not guaranteed, you activate pursuit dynamics. This is not manipulation, it is human psychology. Scarcity increases perceived value. Behavioral economists call it the scarcity principle. Philosophers have long observed that rarity intensifies appreciation. The bad boy embodies controlled scarcity. But here's the line you must not cross. If scarcity becomes cruelty, attraction collapses into resentment. If unpredictability becomes instability, fascination turns into avoidance. Mastery lies in balance. You must be warm enough to connect, but distant enough to intrigue. Open enough to build rapport, but guarded enough to maintain depth. Present, but not possessed. This duality creates cognitive tension, and cognitive tension compels engagement. And now we arrive at the most important truth of this chapter. The bad boy is not a personality type. It is an energy configuration. It is the alignment of internal independence with external composure. It is the absence of fear of loss. It is the refusal to overinvest before reciprocity exists. It is the willingness to walk away. Walking away is power. The man who can walk away does not negotiate his standards. He does not beg for clarity. He does not shrink to fit comfort zones. And because he can walk away, he never needs to threaten it. This is why she runs toward him. Not because he mistreats her, but because he does not need her to complete him. And when you fully understand that, you begin to see that becoming a master bad boy has nothing to do with becoming darker. It has everything to do with becoming unafraid. And once fear dissolves, behavior transforms naturally. Which leads us to the dangerous part, because understanding the myth is easy. Becoming the embodiment is where most men fail, and that is exactly where we go next. Understanding the psychology of attraction is seductive in itself. It gives you language, it gives you clarity, it gives you the illusion of control. But knowledge without transformation only sharpens frustration. The real question is not why she runs toward the bad boy. The real question is whether you can become the man who does not need to chase. The first shift is internal, not behavioral. Most men attempt to change how they act before changing how they perceive themselves. They practice delayed texting. They try controlled silence. They rehearse teasing lines. But if your nervous system is still seeking approval, every tactic will leak desperation. Authentic dominance is not behavior, it is regulation. Emotional regulation is the foundation of the master bad boy. When she takes longer to respond, you do not spiral. When she cancels plans, you do not overcompensate. When she flirts with someone else, you do not compete. You observe. You remain centered. That calmness is destabilizing, in the best way. Because when she expects reaction and receives composure, the dynamic shifts. This is where many men misunderstand confidence. Confidence is not loud speech or exaggerated posture. It is the absence of urgency. Urgency signals need. Need signals imbalance. Imbalance collapses attraction. You must train yourself to move at your own pace. Speak slightly slower than you feel compelled to. Hold eye contact half a second longer than comfort dictates. Pause before responding instead of rushing to fill silence. These micro-adjustments communicate internal steadiness. And steadiness feels powerful. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once suggested that anxiety arises from possibility. The master bad boy understands this intuitively. He does not eliminate possibility. He amplifies it. He leaves emotional outcomes open-ended. He does not define the relationship prematurely. He allows the interaction to breathe. That breathing space creates anticipation. Anticipation is foreplay at the psychological level. Now let's address challenge. Challenge is often misused. Many men believe challenging means insulting or being dismissive. That is childish. Real challenge is subtle. It is disagreement without hostility. It is playful contradiction. When she says she hates something you enjoy, you smile and say, that's because you've only experienced it the wrong way. Not defensive, not aggressive, just grounded. Challenge establishes polarity. Polarity creates magnetism, but polarity must be paired with warmth. The master bad boy is not emotionally frozen. He laughs easily, he touches casually but intentionally, he shows interest selectively. That selective interest becomes valuable. Scarcity must be real. This means building a life that genuinely occupies your time. If your entire schedule revolves around her availability, she will feel the imbalance. Pursuit must flow in both directions. When she invests, you reciprocate. When she withdraws, you do not chase. You mirror the energy and return to your world. Your world must be rich. Purpose is the hidden amplifier. A man without purpose cannot sustain the bad boy energy because he has too much empty space. Empty space breeds obsession. Obsession breeds neediness. Neediness kills tension. Develop projects, physical training, social circles, creative outlets, not to appear busy, but to become fulfilled. Fulfillment produces natural detachment. Now we approach the most uncomfortable component, the willingness to walk away. Most men say they can walk away. Very few can do it without resentment. True detachment is peaceful. It is the recognition that attraction is mutual, or it is nothing. When you internalize that, you stop negotiating your standards, you stop over-explaining your boundaries, you become selective. Selectivity transforms perception. The moment you behave as if you are choosing rather than being chosen, the frame flips. The interaction becomes an evaluation, not a performance. This is what she feels, and that feeling is intoxicating. However, there is a trap here. Some men, after learning these principles, swing to emotional coldness. They suppress vulnerability. They avoid expressing desire entirely. They become stoic statues. That is not mastery. That is fear disguised as control. Vulnerability, when delivered from strength, intensifies attraction. The key is timing. Early vulnerability signals insecurity. Later vulnerability signals depth. When she has already invested emotionally, revealing complexity creates bonding. It humanizes you without reducing your mystique. The master bad boy understands pacing. He escalates physically without apology, but without aggression. A light touch on her arm during laughter, guiding her through a doorway, standing slightly closer than neutral distance. Each move deliberate, each move calm. If she resists, he adjusts without wounded ego. That emotional resilience is rare. Rare qualities command attention. Let us confront the final contradiction. The bad boy archetype thrives because he does not seek to be good, he seeks to be real. The nice guy often performs morality as strategy. The master bad boy acts from alignment. Alignment means your words, tone, and body language tell the same story. There is no hidden agenda, no internal pleading. When you compliment her, it is specific and restrained. When you disagree, it is composed. When you desire her, it is communicated without apology. Desire expressed without desperation is magnetic. And this leads to the most powerful shift of all, self-sufficiency. When you genuinely enjoy your own company, when solitude does not feel like failure, when rejection does not threaten your identity, you become dangerous in the dating market, because you cannot be manipulated by attention.